WVU predicts to remove $12 million of its research funding that would go to labs just like this one. Programs like WVU School of Dentistry find ways for students to get hands-on clinical experience as well. Students like Gibson will toss their caps here in the Coliseum in just over a month, but are unsure whether they'll have a job after they receive their diploma. The West Virginia Secretary of State's office reported more than 13,000 small businesses registered to operate in the state last year. Research shows that robotics engineering is the fastest growing engineering market in the country, with a projected 30% growth in the next 4 years. Shortly after the action, the state's land-grant institution, West Virginia University, reconfigured its DEI office to comply with the order. President Donald Trump's efforts to reduce the size of government and save money are putting those jobs at risk and creating concern for students preparing to graduate from WVU. Research shows that 50% of students in the state of West Virginia are exclusively enrolled in online courses. Coming up, we take you to a Morgantown area park that's making winter activities more accessible to everyone. According to reporting from USA Today, more than 24,000 federal employees have been laid off just this year. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports underground mining is one of the top 10 most dangerous jobs in America. I spoke with one student who just weeks from graduation says he's now uncertain for what his future holds. Christian Gibson is a wildlife and fisheries student at West Virginia University. He chose this major because of his passion for conserving national parks, which began at a young age.
I've always had a great admiration for the outdoors, whether it's looking at different organisms along a creek or just even walking through the woods on a hike.
But Gibson's future is now uncertain. The Trump administration has laid off 30,000 federal workers since January in an effort, he says, to save money. Students like Gibson will toss their caps here in the Coliseum in just over a month, but are unsure whether they'll have a job after they receive their diploma. Gibson's major prepares students for jobs in the Department of the Interior, like a fish biologist or park ranger, but 28% of federal layoffs have been in that department alone. Professor Brent Murray worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service before coming to WVU.
A federal biologist will make more money than a similar person at a state level, right? So it's a job you really want to get to, but I feel like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it as well. But it's a way. Paying more is a way for the feds to get the best people for those jobs.
Gibson says despite the hiring freeze, he still plans to pursue his dream job.
The hiring freeze doesn't stop my motivation to keep applying for these jobs. I'll just continue working for the company I currently work for until I get a job in my career field.
West Virginia University is continuing to work with the state to help find a plan to continue funding for their wildlife labs. Jenna Luthman is a graduate student at West Virginia University working on her PhD in biology. Luthman applied for research funding from the National Science Foundation last year.
When the initial DEI list of flagged words were instituted, I had put in a grant that I worked about 6 months on last year before the election and everything, had already submitted it. And I had used a word underrepresented, which was one of the words on the list.
The Trump administration implemented the flag on DEI language in federal grants in January, and Luthman's funding was rejected. But Luthman isn't alone. At colleges and universities across the U.S., tens of billions of dollars in federal research are at risk. WVU predicts to remove $12 million of its research funding that would go to labs just like this one. These grants fund research for diseases like Alzheimer's and the creation of the world's smallest pacemaker. Daniel Brewster, a sociology professor at WVU, believes that the loss of funding could set back research for years to come.
Like you can see the defunding of this, whether it's like NIOSH here in town or it's our graduate students, our health sciences campus, it's like in 4 years, it's going to be gone. Right. And so like, I don't know if you can start over at that point.
Luthman says the federal cuts will not just result in the loss of medical research, but could also result in the loss of future researchers.
The intellect of the mind can come from anybody. And so the initiatives of DEI, along with just funding to help outreach into other communities, are so important because you really never know where a brilliant scientist can come from.
Luthman's labs plan to reconstruct research grant proposals to follow the new rules instituted so they can stay funded.